So I've had the Switch 2 for quite some time now, month to be exact. I've played it pretty much every day. And now I want to kind of give you guys my clear thoughts around each category. I might throw some stuff up on the side so you guys can feel good about being on YouTube. But overall, I'm just trying to give y'all some concise information about what I've seen, what I've felt over the last month with the Switch 2. All right, today we're going to be talking design and hardware, performance and graphics, games and ecosystem, the user experience, so their software, price value, and then basically my final conclusion. First up, just went down the list design and hardware. The biggest and best things about this design overall is basically the ease of functionality now that they have reiterated on what they already created. The rails were okay, but these magnets are much better. They're more secure, they're easier to take on and off when you're delinking the Joy Cons from the controller and doing the official switch or whatever. The things that I really like about the design itself is the kickstand, the larger screen, HDR support, and basically it now being 1080p. If it wasn't 1080p, honestly, I wouldn't be happy with it. I feel like everybody's like, oh, it's okay. It could be 720p. It could be better battery. It could be 800p. No, I feel like 1080p is sufficient for their games and the games that they're going to be producing, and that they should be able to easily hit 1080p at all times. Understandably so, it probably would have helped with the battery, but I just feel like 1080p is the best spot to be in the medium. I don't want it to be 1440p. I don't want it to be 4K, but I want that handheld to at least look crisp as I play it. And by God, that thing does look crisp when you're playing it in handheld mode. That is a powerful system in its own right. It is not some weak junk out here. It is actually a useful piece of hardware, especially if you're in Nintendo's ecosystem a lot. Third party support yet to be like, really, really pushed. But for what you're trying to get with hardware wise on Nintendo end, like their games, you're going to be running a crisp and nice looking experience at all times in handheld. And then not only is they able to do 4K 60 on the docked mode, you can do up to 120 FPS even in the handheld mode. That's significant. So that is a 10 out of 10 on design hardware for me. I don't feel like the screen is that bad for me to be making a big fuss about it. I'm not looking, so I'm not seeing. Understandably so, people are having issues with the blur and all that other stuff. It's not for me to decide whether or not that screen is good or not. It's for me to tell you that I'm enjoying my experience. If you want to go talk to more people that's more educated in the screen and how that looks, go right ahead. But half of you guys probably don't care. Next up, which I kind of already talked about, performance and graphics. This thing is a monster when it comes to backwards compatibility. Anything I throw at it, it is going to be a locked, whatever frame rate they have chosen at that time, 30 or 60. It's going to be a locked resolution. It's normally not dipping. I'm pretty much a pixel peeper. I pixel peep a lot. And from what I can see, this is a very, very clear and high fidelity screen, but also performance to match. So the actual hardware is running these games a lot better. It's looking better. It's actually creating a better experience overall. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, I made a big fuss about how I'm mad I emulated that game simply due to the fact that I wasn't feeling like I got the right experience when the first time I played it. Now, I did buy a copy, obviously. You gotta buy copies to emulate. But when you buy one and you play it on that old Switch, it just did not. It ruined the experience for me. It had to be updated. It needed to be updated, and now that it is, I am having a blast with that. Same thing goes for Echoes of Wisdom. I can go back to Splatoon 3. I can go back to Bayonetta 3, even that one where it doesn't even have a patch yet. It's still running better. So your old library will run better on this hardware off the rip. It's not one of those things where you have to wait on it. It's going to run better. Backwards compatibility is a godsend when it comes to a lot of this stuff. So you just want to make sure that you understand that when you buy this, you're going to be getting an upgrade regardless of if you buy a new game or not. Next up, games and ecosystem. Say what you want. They got two games coming out that were pretty big in less than a month from each other. We got Donkey Kong Bonanza and we got Mario Kart World. Half the publishers out here ain't putting out that type of quality in big games that quickly. They got games still. I don't really get the whole difference between like, oh, they don't have a strong lineup. They got games coming out soon, and they're probably going to still, like I said, but when it comes to backwards compatibility, I'm looking at all these companies different. I don't need a strong lineup anymore for these games or companies. I'm just making sure that the hardware is better. Now, a lot of people need those games, and that is why I am still going to give them the same, bail and benefit of the doubt. They have two games. They have Mario Kart World and they have Donkey Kong Bonanza coming out really, really soon. And for those that don't believe me, Donkey Kong Bonanza is a console seller. It is made by the same people that made Mario Odyssey. That game sold bananas as well. And this one will too. You just have to actually go and look. Now, everybody's favorite character may not be Donkey Kong, but Donkey Kong is pretty big in their ecosystem. So to me, they have fulfilled what they needed in regards to games. They just everything else around it is really what's kind of causing me to be like, The overall games though, the games are great. GameCube emulation, honestly, take it or leave it. They brung it. I could leave it to be honest, but overall, those types of games are still quality. It's just there's better ways to emulate to me. As of now, they have the ability to do it through the online service, and you can buy the expansion packs to get into that. It's just when you're talking ecosystem is where you start to lose points in this regard. So, uh, if you're thinking about it, when I was speaking, design and hardware, 10 out of 10. Performance and graphics, 10 out of 10. Games and ecosystem. Games, 10 out of 10. But you gotta talk about that ecosystem in this category too. So yeah, you might have a good lineup of games and the ability to play some good games on this system, but you definitely have to think about that ecosystem, and that ecosystem is atrocious. So when I say ecosystem, I'm referring to their accessories. I'm talking about how you interact with their games, how they present them games, how do they charge you for those said games. Ecosystem talks to their products, services, and all that. Nintendo Switch Online is a joke. To me, it's still a joke. Game chat hasn't been as beneficial as I expected it to be, but it's still a nice to have. They have ability now to game chat, but Discord has always and will always be better. And I guess that's probably why they never did one anyway, because they knew that everybody else could do it better. They had to find something that they could do to make it useful. And honestly, no, it's not that useful. But people can have the opportunity to use game chat, so it's there. Their cost, amiibos being $40, their games now being up to $80. There's just so much to unpack there, that you really don't want to go down that rabbit hole when you're talking about Nintendo, because there's so much to unpack about their ecosystem, how they try to protect their ecosystem, how they try to, stop people from being able to, you know, actually legally run things on their systems. They're just so much more than just a console maker, and they definitely abuse their power at times. Overall, though, the ecosystem is the ecosystem. You have to deal with it if you want to play their games. So that's going to bring this down to a 3 out of 10. Um, that's just my opinion. If I'm talking strictly games and ecosystem, and not if I'm talking games, 10 out of 10, they're gonna have some banger games. I don't think everything is tied to the ecosystem to obtain those games and play those games is great. So it's gonna drag that down to a 3 for me. Shoot the messenger. I'm just saying my opinion. User experience and software. Same thing with the user experience is that kind of falls in line with the games and ecosystem. User experience has been good just because the UI, user interface, I feel like they have kept it the same. There's nothing difficult about it. There's nothing hard about it. Easy things. There's not nothing major that's changed about their software or anything like that. The Switch games are still running. I haven't run into any glitches yet, but they do have a compatibility list. So might want to make sure that your games are going to run well on the Switch too. But overall, Nintendo Switch eShop is running well. They're now much snappier because they, again, improving the hardware just made everything better. eShop obviously was an online thing. I don't know why it was take so long to load, but now it is much snappier. It's much better framework, and much easier to move around in. So eShop much better. Software wise, where you have your digital updates, much better. Key cards, because that is a part of the user experience, it does bring this down the category a little bit. Because again, when you think Nintendo, you think plug and play. You don't think plug and wait to download. You just don't think of that because their games are normally meant to be housed on the cartridge. It's almost always thought of in a way that they have the best preservation when it comes to gaming because their games are usually on the cartridge. That has changed this time around. So the user experience is much different. It's a little bit complicated. And on top of that, they now have virtual cards where you can kind of like share games and stuff like that. They do try to make stuff easy for you. So the user experience is meant to be easy, but then they confuse you with key cards, game, codes and boxes and stuff like that. So with the user experience, from someone that is just trying to play one game, you're going to have a great time. But if you start to think about it and you start to bring into everything that they have changed to try to make it easier for you and just more so making it complicated for you, I'm going to have to go with the user experience and the software dropping down to like a 6 out of 10. There's so much to improve here. Like, yeah, you could put the little lock on the key card to try to let people know. It's just one of those things where it's not going to be abundantly clear and it's hard to kind of transition and not have it be rough for a while. So not saying that everybody else don't do it. I'm just saying that now that they have decided to do it, you want to make that as simplistic as possible and it doesn't feel like it's simple. This feels like it's just convoluted at this point. Overly convoluted. Next up, price and value. $450, right? $450. Everybody's this is the big tagline. 450 is too much. 450 is too much. To me, at first I felt as if it was too much. But then when I actually used the dang on thing and I actually played with it, I came to realize that the best thing about it was the hardware. And the hardware sat above the rest of the. And maybe that's not the good thing to say, like, oh, they did the hardware so good, so the hardware deserves that price, while everything else is below tier because they are making stuff more convoluted, they're making stuff more difficult, they're making stuff more gated and things like that. So because they're making bad decisions elsewhere, it makes the hardware look better. But no, it's just the hardware is better. It's actually worth the $450. Like when I think about that system, I think like, does the battery is the battery still or the same? Is that screen better? Is there HDR support? Is it 120 FPS? Is the Joy Cons bigger? Is the feel and build better? And overall, most of it, you get the landline now in your system. You don't gotta go buy an adapter. All this stuff leads to me to say, yeah, it's worth it. Do I wish they would have made it an OLED and maybe charge me extra $50? Yeah, because then I wouldn't have to buy two. So there is one of those things where they could have made it a little bit better to make the value of the 450 feel more meaningful when someone purchased it. But to me, backwards compatibility being there and it being top notch, the ability for them to have some free updates and not charge for every single update. Another one of those things where you're just dealing with the ecosystem. Some of them are free, guys. You have to give them credit where credit's due. Some of these games are being updated for free. And that tells me that they're dedicated and interested in making their hardware shine even with the older titles. So to me, I feel like it's 100% worth the $450. It could have been a little bit cheaper. It could have been 400 exactly. But to me, they made up the difference by actually putting out a powerful piece of hardware. I don't think people realize how powerful this little thing is yet. and they're going to start to come to realization that it looks better than other handhelds simply due to the Nvidia portion of this. I just feel like it's going to be underrated for a little bit until they start to bring out those games that's really going to showcase why this is an actual valuable upgrade. So for me, I would say price and value 8 out of 10. Now, pricing on games, that's totally different. The pricing for games is going to have to hit that whole totality of this category because, again, the price of these games to me just will never be worth it. I will never spend $80 on Mario Kart. Those are types of games I play with friends and I play online. And yes, I will play it for a very long time, like 8 years. But it's just to me feels like, you know, $80 is such a stretch for, and it has to match to me the level of production value. And I just don't feel it in my heart of hearts that Mario Kart World cost them that much to make. Yeah, it probably took time, but it didn't cost you that much. Not to be charging $80 for it. And I guess I can't put a price on that, and neither can they, because they obviously just keep moving the goalposts. But what I can say is that yeah, when there's games that actually drop, and I feel comfortable paying that price, I might. But I just don't see that ever happening on Nintendo. I will always wait for the sale. Only thing that I am going to be buying is Donkey Kong because again, that's priced to my liking. It's $69.99. I'm okay with now paying $69.99 for games, especially when it showcases in the way Donkey Kong has showcased. But for me to go out and spend it on Mario Kart World, just never going to happen. Smash is the same way for me. Mario Party is the same way for me. These are games that I play randomly and it's never going to be like consistent. Their online services are never going to make me feel like, oh, I'm so comfortable competitively playing any game for a long period of time on there. Splatoon 3 is the problem. That's my problem with that. And I realized that when I was playing Splatoon 2 is that yeah, this might not be the game to invest a lot of time in because their servers aren't the greatest. So it's one of those things where you have to think about the overall ecosystem and the price and the value that does come into play. So for me, taking all that in, I'm gonna have to drop this down to a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. Don't hate me. All right. And then final conclusion. Overall, man, we're talking design, we're talking their hardware, we're talking performance and graphics, we're talking games and that ecosystem, we're talking that user experience, we're talking that price. To me, overall, this is a solid 8 out of 10. They have the games, they have the hardware now. They have the third party support, which I never expected them to have. They actually got a game coming out exclusively from Software. Never thought that would happen, but they do. They have it, and it's good. That means that they are actually trying to make their gaming ecosystem worth the pickup from not just their Nintendo fans, but the third party people too. So I'm happy for it. It gives my choice in buying it early more life and more value versus waiting off on it anyway. Again, you can never go wrong with buying a Nintendo console. If you want to play their exclusives, this is where you're going to have to get them. Unless you get up into the other stuff. But if you don't, and you're someone like me that just wants to enjoy your games in a nice way, in the right way too, I feel like this is an easy pickup. I feel like it's an 8 out of 10 console. I feel like it's got probably one of the better launches. Like if you really thought about it, like price and value wise, like if you really thought about it, they could easily have knocked this out the park in something crazy if they just dropped it down to 399 and never changed the price on their games. But we're going through something that nobody has ever gone through before. There's things that we can't even imagine that business owners are having to deal with at this point in time. And I'm not trying to throw them no bail because whatever, y'all still make money. I just feel like this is a little bit different. If we were literally looking at this without that noise around it, and obviously Nintendo is making some of that noise themselves, you could easily say this was a very good launch. But they won't, because if they do, they have to admit that price of stuff is just going to go up. And nobody wants to admit that the price of stuff got to go up. We just want to have our games. We want to eat our cake too. We don't really want our prices to change, and nobody likes it, but that's the reality of the situation. If you're a gamer, you're going to get that tax. It's called the gamer tax. But I just feel like, yeah, for me, I still ain't came to grips with no $8 Nintendo game. Don't think I ever will. But the hardware itself, judging it off that, great purchase. But that is pretty much it. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you enjoy the content, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I want to thank you again. I know this might be a little bit of a longer one, but overall, I just wanted to get my thoughts out there and kind of let you guys know exactly where I sit when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2. Thanks again. See you in the next one.